You'll have to forgive my voice because of this stupid weather around here. We had snow one day and then it was 70 degrees the next day. I am on the verge of losing my voice. So you'll have to excuse me being a bit raspy. I'm drinking water in between sentences here. The X-Men spinoff, X-Men Origins Wolverine, I was not a fan of. I thought that for something that they really wanted to get off on the right foot, it was a disjointed, sloppily put together mess. Then they followed it up with The Wolverine, which I really liked. I thought it did a better job of representing the character and felt a lot more like the other X-Men movies as opposed to whatever the hell Origins was. After the success of Deadpool, they decided to make the third movie, Logan, full-on R-rated. I am absolutely overjoyed that they did, because this movie could not be done PG-13. There are a lot of comic book movies that don't need to be R-rated. I don't think there needs to be an R-rated Avengers. I don't think that Spider-Man needs to be R-rated. That's fine. They can go and keep them PG-13. But with this, because of the gravity and just the visceral nature of it, being R-rated was a huge plus. The movie takes place, I believe it's 2029. It seems that in the future, mutants have been eradicated, and Charles Xavier and Logan are the only two left. Charles finds out there is one other one, and the two of them inadvertently end up in the care of a young mutant. What I liked about the movie, I thought the story was fantastic. I loved seeing Old Man Logan and the interaction between him and Charles. It was so good. There was a fair amount of humor, but it was never misplaced. It was never shoehorned in. There was no comedic relief. It was just natural laughter. I liked X-23. She was the young mutant that Charles and Logan were taking care of. She was pretty much pulled right out of the comics. If you know the comics, you already know a bit about the character. And unfortunately, I'm not completely up to date on X-23. I think the only difference they made in the movie was that they made her a little bit younger. For some reason, I remember her being a teenager in X-Men Evolution and in some of the comics. So I don't know if they had some older comics where they went back a little bit and maybe were showing her when she was younger. I don't have time to read as many comics anymore as I would like. So they could have been pulling from some earlier stories to get the character. I absolutely loved how visceral it was. Having Wolverine kicking the shit out of people, along with X-23, they had some parts later on where the two of them were fighting together that was just awesome. Doing damage like you would expect to see. Just stabbing into people and ripping off limbs and, it was so good. They did such a good job with it. They also did a really good job of showcasing his injuries. There was a lot of practical effects showing like his bullet wounds and showing his scars and him healing. I thought they did just an excellent job with that. There was some CG, but there was a lot more practical than I expected. Another thing that I liked but I didn't expect was how emotional it was. This was not a happy movie. This was a very sad movie. And I liked that. I enjoy when a movie tugs at your heartstrings, and it's genuine. It's not fake stuff to get you to cry. It's really heavy emotional stuff. What I didn't like about it is very minor. There were some fight sequences. I thought the camera was a little too close. So there were moments where a lot of stuff was going on, and you couldn't exactly tell what was going on. That didn't happen in every fight. There was two, maybe a half hour into the movie that I thought they could have pulled the camera back a little bit further. When you see the later fights and see just how brutal they are and how the camera's back far enough so you can see a lot of the stuff that's going on, and it's taking place in broad daylight, so you're not getting a dark version of what's happening. You're getting a full lit, brutal Wolverine rage tearing people apart. And that was great. So really, that was the only thing I didn't like. I thought that the pacing was on point. I thought that the story was great. I loved every character that was in it. And I thought it flowed really well. There was no dull points. And it's not a short movie. I think it's like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. And for them to keep the pacing up with that is just excellent. Logan is everything I've ever wanted in a Wolverine movie. It could quite possibly be the best X-Men movie. If it's not the best X-Men movie, it's definitely the most emotional one. There is one minor spoiler. It's not about the movie itself, but if you don't want anything in the movie tainted, then just ignore this next part. There was no after credits stinger. because everything that was leading up to that was just way too emotional. I think at that point, if they put anything after the credits, it wouldn't feel right. So what they did was they put something before the credits, which is absolutely fantastic. The audience loved it, and if you're liking the Fox comic book movies, you're going to like this one as well. It was an absolute unexpected treat.